Hello everyone, and welcome back to Fanfic Fridays. I'm going to be doing something a little bit different with this one than what I normally do. I'm hoping the quality will be a little bit better from now on. I'm going to see how it goes, and next couple of videos I'll probably be experimenting with different ways of how I can record. But without further ado, let's get on to Chapter 2 of Truthful Scars. Adrian considered Alia incredibly lucky that she caught him on the rarity that was a free day. Outdoor photo shoots had been cancelled due to the downpour of rain that currently flooded gutters and made the world tremble from the roar of thunder. Paris was going through a fit of bad weather lately, the skies gloomy and streets full of scattered puddles. Akuma attacks had certainly been less frequent. Perhaps Hawkmoth and his villains didn't care much for getting damp. Fencing practice was only mildly interesting, but that's how it usually was. There's only so much of swinging around a saber a guy can take. Once he had changed back into his regular attire, he checked his phone, much to the annoyance of a sleeping Plag, and discovered he had received a text from Alia. Yes, friendly communication. Social interaction. It wasn't often that anyone besides Nino or Chloe texted him, so seeing Alia's name and cheery photo in his messages made a warm smile spread across Adrian's face. Friends were something he cherished, and was incredibly grateful for.
Hey Adrian, could you do me a big favor, if you're free?
Being the gentleman that he was, how could Adrian refuse? He quickly shot back an excited, "Sure," before stuffing his phone into his pocket and heading out to the car, where the gorilla patiently awaited. Just as he had strapped in, his phone alerted him of another message.
Awesome. Okay, so Marionette really needs some help, and I couldn't think of anyone better than you. She's got some really cool new designs, but doesn't have measurements for Chat Noir, and you're pretty close in height, so I think you can see where I'm going with this.
Oh. So now here he was, standing outside the doors of the Dupeng Sheng bakery, the scent of bread and pastries hitting him in a cloud of wonderful aromas as the door opened with a cute little chime of a bell. To say Adrian wasn't at least a tad nervous would be a complete lie. He had only been in Marionette's home once for video games. It was fun, and admittedly, he enjoyed spending time with the cute, albeit incredibly nervous girl from class. She seemed to open up to him, and for once they delved in actual conversation. But the game session unfortunately only lasted a measly hour before an Akuma attack drew the pair away and split them apart, cutting his visit short. So much for getting to know his cute blue-eyed classmate that day. Now there was a second chance, one he wouldn't have been brave enough to make on his own, but it was still a chance. Marionette had been so nervous around him, save for the first day of school when they awkwardly became acquainted over a piece of gum stuck to her seat, her scowl and confident confrontation making her seem like a completely different person than who Adrian knew now. Adrian let out a soft breath to relieve his nerves before entering the bakery, his lips curling upward into a sentimental smile at how nicely decorated and homey the shop was. The last time he had visited, all of the sweets were tempting, but he abstained, knowing his father wouldn't allow him to consume such unhealthy indulgences. Marionette's parents greeted him warmly, with friendly grins and a hint of excitement that left Adrian feeling a tad curious. They remembered him from the last time he visited, of course, but he wasn't sure what the peak of a smirk on her mother's face could have been from. "Hello, Mr. and Mrs. Dupeng Sheng," Adrian said with a polite tone. "Is Marionette here?"
It's so nice to see you again, Adrian.
Sabine beamed, her smile genuine.
Go right up. She's in her room.
He didn't hesitate. Excited to see his friend, Adrian weaved through the line and found his way up to the second story of Marionette's home, knocking on the door. Although permission had been given to go up to her room, it seemed rude to just barge in without Marionette's consent. At first, she didn't answer, so he rapped on the door once again, a little more forceful the second time around. Silence. "Marionette?" Adrian called out, giving the door another knock. "It's Adrian, are you—" The door flew open, a wide-eyed Marionette standing frozen beneath him. If there was a one term to describe her at that moment, it would have been a deer in the headlights.
Adrian.
Her voice peeped, cracking and squeaking as her cheeks turned a shade of pink.
Oh gosh, what are you doing here?
The poor girl was so nervous. He couldn't help but wonder what he did to make her feel as if she couldn't speak around him.
Alia texted me and said you needed help with some designs or something, and, well, here I am.
It took everything he had to resist the urge to bow. That was reserved for his confident alter ego, and Adrian was sure that Marionette wouldn't appreciate chat noir at her door.
Oh.
Her face reddened deeper.
Can you just give me a moment? I have to
She paused.
clean my room. It's messy. Just wait here a moment on the couch, okay? I'll be right back.
He didn't even have a chance to respond before she scurried up the stairs to her room. There was the unmistakable sound of frantic rummaging coming from above him, and he could distinctly pick out what Marionette scolding her friend.
You didn't even warn me, Alia. What am I supposed to do with all these photos?
His smile turned downward into a frown. Did she not want him here? Had Alia done this as a joke? He had never assumed that Marionette was nervous around him because she didn't like him, but...
Okay, you can come up now, Adrian.
Marionette's face was crimson as she poked her head out from the trap door, fingers curled tightly around the edge so hard that her knuckles turned white. No use waiting around looking shy. As he entered her room, she took a step back, allowing him to glance about and take it all in. Seeing her room for the second time made Adrian's chest flare up in a cozy warmth, giving him that wonderful at-home feeling he had so long desired to feel at his own household. Nobody's home felt more comfortable and snug than Marionette's. They lapsed into silence, neither of them sure of how to bring up a conversation. As chat noir, Adrian was a master of charisma. Why couldn't he muster up the courage to speak now? Maybe it was those blue bells that had been staring at him since he arrived.
I'm sorry.
His awkward laugh broke the silence.
I figured Alia would have told you. If you want me to go, it's okay, I promise.
No.
Marionette seemed surprised by her sudden outburst and cupped her palm over her mouth, shifting her gaze away nervously.
Sorry, I meant... No, it's okay. You can stay. I don't mind at all. The help would really be appreciated, actually.
Was she ever not anxious? They had slipped into a quietude while he stood with his legs straight and arms out, Marionette's measuring tape stretching across his limbs and height. Having her hands so close to him almost made Adrian shiver. For the first time he was given a real chance to admire her. Marionette's eyes sparkled like sunlight on the ocean, causing a toasty and fuzzy feeling to rise within his stomach. Silky bangs hung in front of her blushing face, which was lightly dusted with a starscape of delicate brown freckles. The urge to place his lips upon her sweet skin made his cheeks heat up in a scarlet blush.
Adrian, are you all right?
Those gorgeous blue pools were gazing up at him, full of concern.
You look like you're about to fall over.
Adrian's blush deepened.
I'm fine, Marionette. Just a little distracted.
Marionette's reassuring smile caused his heart to pick up its pace.
It's okay. Me too.
The silence returned as she continued to work, her hand moving quickly as she jotted down his measurements on a piece of paper. She opened her mouth to speak, but a growl from Adrian's stomach shushed her. A grin tugged at her lips.
Do you want to take a break?
It wasn't until his stomach voiced a complaint that Adrian realized how hungry he felt. Lunch was skipped so he could study for their French test, and breakfast that morning had been fairly light. It didn't help that he was on specific meal plans for his modeling. Adrian usually went throughout the day feeling hungry, since his father's knowledge of his escapades as chat noir was absolutely zero. If Marionette was offering food, how could he refuse, especially with that face?
Sure.
He kept in the sigh of relief.
I'd love that, if you don't mind.
It's no problem. Let me get you something to eat. Just wait here, okay?
He could tell she was opening up to him, even if it was just slightly. Marionette's nervous stuttering and frantic movements had toned down quite significantly as they spent more time together, although he had only been at her house for about an hour. While she was gone, Adrian took the opportunity to look around. Marionette's room had such a welcoming aura to it that he never wanted to step foot out of it. It filled him with the feelings of comfort as he glanced from her bed to her desk to her chase, relishing in the glows of pinks and black. It had a much different atmosphere from his room, which felt like a prison of white and cold, pointless devices of entertainment. What good was having a gigantic room if he had nobody to share it with? Finding out that he would be spending the day with Marionette, well, Adrian had been grateful. Being at home didn't exactly fill him with joy. It was lonesome and empty, chilling halls full of marble and golden photo frames making his entire household feel superficial. All of it was just for show. There was no love that occupied the Agreste mansion, only the idea of success and more. In reality, all Adrian desired was a cozy home like Marionette's, a smaller room which he would look forward to relaxing in after a bad day, or the warmth of color filling each wall. The scent of freshly baked bread and vanilla was a constant at Marionette's place, while at his house you seldom smelled anything at all, besides the wax on the floors after they were freshly polished. Everything about his home, if you could even call it that, was harsh and quiet. Walking in from those gigantic doors after an exhausting day left Adrian feeling sorrowful and in the dire need of attention, which was something he rarely came in contact with. But here, standing in Marionette's room, he felt as if he had been taken in on a snowy day and wrapped up in a blanket after receiving a kiss on the cheek. It almost made him wish he could stay over for the night, just to experience what it was to sleep in a house that made him feel like a hot cocoa tastes.
Adrian?
The model turned around to face his classmate, who held out a tray of flaky, buttery croissants. Just the sight made his mouth water. The last time those pastries had been offered to him, they slipped out of his grasp before Marionette's dismissal. Now she was offering the freshly baked croissants to him, probably croissants that she had asked her mother to make specifically for him. His nose tingled as the tempting aroma surrounded him, hugged him, pulled him in for a kiss. Taking one, he bit into it without hesitation, thanking his friend as she set the tray down on her desk. His eyes closed partly as he chewed his snack. The flavor made Adrian sigh. Even the food felt like home.
Do you want to play some video games?
Marionette's quiet voice broke the comfortable silence that had rose in the room.
Maybe you can try to beat me this time.
Is that a challenge?
Adrian's eyebrow cocked self-assuredly, and a smirk teased at his lips. Instantly, he saw something spark in his friend's eyes, that same shimmer of confidence he had seen when she competed against Max. Oh, she was on.
I'll have you know, I've had plenty of practice since our last time playing. You could call me an Ultimate Mecha Strike 3 champ.
Oh, really?
Marionette met his competitive tone, her eyes gleaming. Now there's the Marionette he admired.
Really? I'll make a bet. €5 says you beat me twice, but I win the third time. If you beat me all 3 times, then you win.
Marionette's laugh made his stomach tingle. The way her pink lips curled upward into a smile and how those gorgeous eyes shut to let her giggles escape with ease almost made him feel lightheaded. Of course, Adrian had always thought of his friend as cute. There was no way that word couldn't describe her, but... wow. If cute could increase by 1,000, then that was Marionette. His heart thumped in his chest.
Adrian, your controller?
He wondered if she noticed the tint in his cheeks.
Ah, yeah. Sorry. Ready?
I was born ready. Prepare to have your butt kicked, Agreste.
Marionette gave him a smirk, something she had never directed at him before, but it filled him with excitement. Friendship levels with Marionette had gone up 70%.
Oh, bring it on, Marionette.
Adrian sighed as he stuffed a hand into his pocket and handed over €5. He had accepted his defeat with a few muffled curse words, which sent Marionette into a fit of giggles. That girl was ruthless when it came to video games. 3 hours of match after match and he hadn't claimed a single victory.
One more round.
He gave her a cocky grin.
Maybe I'll have some good luck for once. I've got a good feeling this time around.
Reaching into his pocket, Adrian pulled out the one thing he never left the house without. Save for Plagg, of course, who was safely nestled somewhere in Marionette's room, and displayed it on his palm. Marionette's face instantly softened as her eyes landed on the lucky charm she gave Adrian a few months prior.
You still have that?
He could sense a change in her. Something deep, Her confidence faded and was replaced by the same nervousness he had been trying to coax her out of all day. Eyes shifting to his, Marionette flushed, holding his gaze while she awaited a reply. Adrian held his breath in his throat. Had he scared her?
Of course I do. It brings me good luck when I need it. It's nice to carry around.
His eyes glowed with affection, and his tone became quiet, and he, too, felt his cheeks begin to redden.
It's a reminder that someone cares. Do you want it back?
A reminder that someone cares. Adrian felt his hands form a delicate fist around the lucky charm. It meant a lot to him, and now that the gravity of his words had set in, he felt his heart swell with a mix of emotions. Marionette cares. Marionette cares about you. Marionette fed you when you were hungry, and Marionette gave you this charm to help you win a game. Marionette never asked for it back. Marionette...
Well...
She spoke with a nervous waver to her voice, as if she wanted to say more but couldn't find the confidence to spit it out. Her blush hadn't faded.
I'm glad it helps. You can probably get better use out of it than I can. Keep it, please. I want you to have it.
His insides melted, and the urge to wrap Marionette up in his arms hit him heavily, but he resisted, instead throwing the charm back into his pocket with a gentle pat.
How about that other round?
Sure.
Marionette was cut off by her mother calling her down for dinner. Disappointment washed across her freckled face as she let out a slightly irritated sigh, and Adrian could partially agree. Did they have to stop now, when they were having so much fun?
I guess that's my cue to leave,
chuckled Adrian, giving her his signature friendly smile.
Do you want me to come back another day for those designs?
Marionette didn't answer immediately. Her gaze stayed glued to the floor. She looked as if she was thinking hard about something, contemplating her choices, or how she would ask him a question.
Do you...
She nibbled on her bottom lip, which left Adrian's heart to skip a beat.
Do you maybe want to stay for dinner? I understand if you can't, of course. You're probably busy, but well, I could ask and...
Ah, there was the awkward bubbling of sentences that Adrian thought he had gotten rid of for now. Her shyness had returned, causing his classmate to slip over her own words and nervously babble on, even though she was only attempting to ask a simple question. How could he say no to such an adorable request?
You know, I actually think I would love that, Marionette.
Natalie would have his head later for skipping dinner, but Adrian couldn't fight it in himself to care. Eating dinner at a friend's house was always something he wished he could experience, and now that he had an actual chance, there was no way he was passing up the opportunity. Marionette's face beamed as she broke into a delighted smile.
I'll go ask my mom.
It was 8:30 by the time Adrian finally slumped into his computer chair. No updates on the lady blog today. Natalie had a mouthful to say when he arrived home carrying a box of pastries from Marionette's bakery, just as he knew she would. A 30-minute lecture about staying out too late and how eating such unhealthy food is so bad for you, Adrian, later, and Adrian found himself unable to find any sign of regret within him. There was simply nothing to regret. He spent his whole day after school with Marionette, playing video games, cracking jokes, and even eating dinner with her parents. Her parents, they adored him. Adrian had never felt so welcomed by anyone in his entire life. His own father never acted so kind, so warm and giving. Just the atmosphere of the Du Peng Sheng household alone gave Adrian the so heavily desired feelings of being wanted and appreciated. They talked to him, asked his opinion on things, included him in conversation, and hadn't scolded him when he went back for a second helping. A family like Marionette's was a dream, a wonderful, fuzzy dream that rested within his heart and played out in his head like a movie he was the star of. And Marionette, well, she was the highlight of it all, a friend who cared, who made him laugh and smile, truly smile. She had bid him goodbye with a timid wave after gifting him with a decent-sized box of pastry that were
on the house, I insist.
She had asked him to come back whenever he could. He wouldn't have left if it was up to him. He almost felt as if he belonged there, with Marionette. Marionette. She wouldn't leave his head.
Can't stop thinking about that girl.
Plag's muffled voice rang from inside the pastry box. Adrian had promised the Kwame the cheese bread, and within seconds he had zipped inside and began chowing down.
What would Ladybug say?
Ladybug? Adrian's heart hammered in his chest. Thinking of his scarlet-clad superheroine crush made him sigh and curl his toes with how strongly he felt for her.
Marionette's just a friend, Plag. My heart belongs to Ladybug. You know that. Besides,
he added quite bitterly,
Ladybug and I aren't a thing. She doesn't want that with me. At least, not yet.
All right, Casanova,
snickered Plag as he popped his head out from the box, tossing a large hunk of cheese bread into his mouth.
Let's go meet your love bug for patrol, so I can get home and sleep. A Kwame needs its rest too, you know.
He needn't say any more.
Plag, claws out.
Being chat noir was something Adrian relished in. Quick on his feet, the superhero vaulted from building to building, the chilly spring air causing him to shiver with delight. With each leap he felt himself closer and closer to freedom. Nighttime was his time. When the sun went down, the cat came out and was ready to stalk the streets. Paris might have been Ladybug's city by day, but when the dark blanket of twilight washed over the earth and coated it in blues and blacks, it belonged to him. No person knew the evening better than Chat Noir. Some nights he swore he could touch the stars if he jumped high enough. He thanked his cat-like stealth as he landed without a sound on the rooftop of Notre Dame, the usual meeting place. Ladybug hadn't heard his arrival, as usual, which caused a smirk to tug at his lips. She sat with her back to him, legs dangling in the air, and gazed captivated by the luminescence of the city. The faint yellow hues that painted her suit practically made her glow. How could she not know how beautiful she is? Twitching his tail, Adrian sunk to all fours and began to slowly creep forward, much like a lion stalking its prey. Just as his rear wiggled in a signal that he was going to pounce, Ladybug spoke, causing him to jolt and fall backwards onto his butt.
Trying to scare me, Tomcat?
Adrian huffed and sat down with a thud next to his lady.
How do you always know I'm there?
Who's to say I don't also have heightened senses when I'm transformed?
A chuckle rumbled in his throat.
Ah, but you're not a cat, my lady. What kind of heightened senses does a ladybug have?
Well, for one, I could see your shadow.
She turned her gaze to him with a satisfied smile as if to say,
Better luck next time, kitty.
Ah, I guess that would be a dead giveaway.
The grin that had been plastered on his face since he left Marionette's house had ceased to disappear, as well as the tint of pink on his cheeks as he thought of just how wonderful his day had been. A content sigh slipped past his lips, all of the tension he usually held in his body non-existent. For the first time in a long time, he was completely relaxed, even blissful perhaps.
What's gotten you in such a good mood, Shaitan?
Ladybug's tone was genuine, and her smile friendly. Usually, Chat held secrets in his gaze, of some unspoken sadness she knew resided within him, but tonight there was nothing but pure ease within his expression. Adrian was taken a bit off guard by her question, but felt his grin widen as he replayed the day's events in his head for the 100th time.
I just had a fantastic day with a friend at her house. Ate some really amazing food, too.
He sighed.
It's rare I have days this good.
It's a girl?
There was a teasing lilt to Ladybug's tone, but something flashed in her eyes he couldn't quite catch. Was that jealousy?
Aw, are you finally trying to get over me?
Not a chance, my lady.
Adrian gave her a flirtatious wink.
You still hold the key to my heart. It's just nice to have a second person who cares about me.
Who's the first?
Turning to her, Adrian's expression softened, and his eyes glowed with the affection for his partner. His tone was gentle but serious as he spoke.
You.
He could have sworn Ladybug blushed, but if she did, she hid it well, because the second he saw it, the shade of red dissipated.
Well, I can confirm that. Anyways.
She stood, grabbing onto her yo-yo in preparation to leap across the city.
Ready for patrol?
With you, my lady.
Adrian gave her his signature grin as he hopped to his feet, reaching behind him to grasp his baton.
I'm always ready.
By the time Adrian had showered, finished his homework, and curled up in bed, it was past 11. There was no guilt within him, however, only the comfortable feeling of being absolutely content.
You can have a crush on 2 girls at once, you know.
Plag yawned from his spot on Adrian's pillow.
A crush isn't exclusive to just one person.
Plag shush. Adrian grumbled, letting his mouth stretch into a yawn of his own.
I don't have a crush on Marinette. I love Ladybug, and only Ladybug. Now get some sleep.
His Kwame mumbled a reply before the dull sounds of purring and snoring could be heard, signaling that the small cat had drifted off. Adrian wished he could do the same. His mind ran marathons as he tossed and turned, his body exhausted, but brain fully awake. Plag did have a point. It wasn't completely wrong to have a crush on 2 girls at once, but no, he didn't have a crush on Marinette.
I don't have a crush on Marinette.
He whispered to himself repeatedly.
I don't have a crush on Marinette. I don't have a crush on Marinette. I don't.
Perhaps telling himself that over and over again would convince him.
I don't have a crush on Marinette.
Perhaps telling himself that would rid his mind of those twinkling blue eyes.
I don't have a crush on Marinette.
Perhaps telling himself that would make him forget about the dusting of freckles on her butt and nose.
I don't have a crush on Marinette.
Perhaps, as futile as the battle with himself may be, telling himself that would erase the thoughts of her perfectly pink lips that looked so kissable.
Oh my goodness.
Adrian groaned, stuffing his face into his pillow as his cheeks heated up and stomach turned with a mix of excitement and anxiety.
I have a crush on Marinette.
Anyways, so yeah, that is chapter 2 of Truthful Scars. I really hope to get this out on a Tuesday. Really hope to get this out today, but if I don't, whatever. Anyways, really hope that this increased the quality. If you notice something different, tell me about it in the comments, because I would love to hear what you guys think I did different. And yeah, you all have a wonderful day.